This show definitely made us think a lot about the logistics and just how everything worked from blip to everyone coming back. Like, how did all of this work? How did the world transition? Because this is the after effects of the transition, right? Of what they're deciding to do. There are rumors that Shang-Chi is going to take place during the blip, which could be really important. We can see, maybe what it's like during that time, how the world is working. I don't know for sure. That's a rumor at this point in time. But I really hope that's something that's explored at some point, because that will make these pieces of media, WandaVision and Falcon the Winter Soldier, sort of better in that regard.
Which they should have done first or during.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, in a couple of years, it's going to be that same question. Do you watch in release order or do you watch in chronological order? Because they do very much need to go back and explain a lot. So it's going to be like when we're binging this in a few years from now, it's like, are we going to watch that series that does touch on the blip stuff before we're going to rewatch Falcon and WandaVision?
Yeah, I think especially because of the way these projects are coming out now and the way they've had to rearrange the release order because of COVID, and
it's all over the place.
Now it's definitely all over the place.
Yeah.
With Zemo,
his whole flaw would be that if he thought supers shouldn't exist, then half the population would still not exist.
Right. It does make you wonder, to what extent does Zemo know about all of that, right? How does he know?
Yeah, or
how
to what extent the public knows how they all came back? Do they know? Because
they know the name Thanos. They know the Mad Titan Thanos and all that stuff and what he did. But do they know the specifics about the Infinity Stones?
In the battle, do they know how that battle went down with Steve and Thor and everyone?
People on the inside definitely know. You have that conversation in WandaVision where Monica and Wu and Darcy, throw back to that trio, love them. They're talking about the fight, right? They're saying oh, well, Wanda could have done the thing. Well, I don't know. Captain Marvel's a little more powerful, but they know some specifics of the battle. Which is really interesting, because who documented this battle? Who did someone were there bystanders way far out that were recording?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably footage from Rhodey, Tony's, and Pepper's suits.
Ooh,
there's probably footage from there's stuff out there.
Good point, bro. Yeah, there's got to be
any of those techs have all this stuff battle recorded, I'm sure.
And there's also hundreds and hundreds of people there, you have Wakandans who are part of this. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people who did speak, talk about this within that 6 months, came out about the story and all that and everything that they saw. There are probably some inconsistencies, too, in the stories. How would they protect against Thanos if we didn't have superpowered beings and super soldiers and stuff like that? I mean, because he specifically set on the serum, super soldiers in specifics, although he does say the Avengers in general. He compares them to fucking Nazis, which is, for the audience, it's no, that's crazy. No, hey, hold on there. But, he is genuinely comparing them without even, a doubt in his mind.
Yeah. Because they're just a group of people who think they're better than the rest, and they have jurisdiction over everyone else.
Right. I mean, it's so weird because specifically Sam, less Bucky, because Bucky is, he's always been a rogue man, and yes, he's ditching his therapy and whatever and all that. But Sam is still part of the government. He's the military. They talk about that in episode 2, and then either way, no matter what, the two of them end up just kind of doing their own thing and have no repercussions for it. Because they're no, we know better. We're going to do the thing that's needs to be done. Yeah. Right. And Sokovia Accords are still, they're a thing. Now, I don't know if Sam ever actually ended up signing it, because that's another thing, right?
Sam did say at one point in the series that the government grounded them when he's back at Sarah's, when he's back with his family. She was asking him, aren't you supposed to be out there? And, he says, oh, they grounded us.
The government stepped in and took control and kind of benched us.
Oh, right. Well, I guess, so maybe I wonder if he ended up signing post Endgame, because he wouldn't have, there's no time from Civil War onwards that he would have signed before Endgame, right? Because he's Secret Avengers for 2 years until Infinity War, and then he gets blipped. So within those 6 months, does he sign Sokovia Accords and end up joining the army? And what's the deal with the Avengers? Are they a thing right now? Seems like probably not.
Yeah. Although John Walker and Lamar say like two Avengers walking around.
Cause a whole commotion when they're two. Like they still call them Avengers.
He's still calling those two Avengers.
I wonder if that's just like at this point, once you were an Avenger, regardless if they're a thing or not now, like they are known as the Avengers. We're still only 6 months after the Avengers saved the world.
Right.
So if you're an Avenger, you're probably an Avenger forever.
Right.
For the most part, as far as the world sees it. Are they actually functioning right now, or is Sam just not interested in being part of that right now? Or maybe is he going to be moving forward? Was he just dealing with his own shit in the meantime? Maybe he needed to separate himself from all of that. I don't know, but this is now 3 projects post-Endgame, chronologically, that haven't touched upon what the state of the Avengers are right now. All we get in Far From Home, with as far as Spider-Man, at one point he says to Fury, but really Talos, oh, where's Thor? Off-world. Where's this person? Oh, busy. Where's Captain Marvel? And don't speak her name in vain. None of the heroes have mentioned that the Avengers are not operating right now, or this or that, or maybe they just don't know. Maybe they haven't rebuilt a base yet. Maybe without Tony Stark, where's the funding?
Yeah, Sam was operating out of the Air Force, right?
Sam was operating out of the Air Force. Even when Rhodey appeared, he was just like, in his classic military stuff going on. But again, no mention of what's going on with the Avengers. You would think even with Tony gone, that like with Pepper now probably in charge of Stark Industries, if Stark Industries is the thing anymore, because who's to say that they are? Tony and Pepper dicked off to the middle of the fucking...
I wouldn't think Pepper gives a crap about, the business.
The business might be totally gone at this point. Who knows if Stark Industries survived through the...
If anything, Happy is running something over there.
I'm sure, right. If that is a thing, maybe they're rebuilding, maybe they're still in that process, but it's just strange to me that 3 projects chronologically happening after Endgame, and we still have no mention of what the state of the Avengers are.
You'd think when they're writing this show, they'd be like, what are all the things that like everyone's confused about? Let's try to answer some questions. And they're like, no, let's confuse them more. No, let's not talk about the blip. No, let's not talk about the state of the Avengers. Let's not talk about Tony's death. Like, let's...
Yeah, and even with all the talk about Tony's death in Far From Home, and there's still no answers on that, really. And maybe I'm forgetting, because both of us have only seen that once, and that was when it was in theaters. It's the only thing, I think, in the MCU that I've seen once.
No, they just mourn him. That's really all. They don't talk about much.
Right, they don't talk about the logistics. All we know is that he has a bunch of fucking military-grade weapons up in space, which is also a very random... Tony Stark moment, who seems like maybe I guess that was to protect against worldly stuff, but again, okay, so now you're fucking with stuff like you were doing with Ultron again. As far as Zemo goes with that, though, it's interesting that in Civil War, this whole story with him and the Sokovia Accords, right? Like it is a whole thing. Should they be allowed to act on their own? Because otherwise, Zemo's saying, yes, the Avengers are going to act like gods. They're going to act like they can do whatever they want. And that Steve's whole side is basically that, is that people will need us. And
so we are gods. So
it's like we'll step in whenever we feel we need to step in, which like is all with good intention,
but still supremacy,
right? To some extent. Not to say that, like, again, they are morally and they are good people. They do good things, but should they be allowed to act on their own jurisdiction? If you will, which I can't believe with all that stuff, with all the Zemo stuff, the conversation about that here, that we don't get the logistics of the Sokovia Accords here, and it's just sort of entirely ignored, and that Sam and Bucky do whatever they want, and then there's no, it's like, oh, you saved the day again. Good job, guys. I hope we get some stuff on that. I have to imagine we'll get some sort of Sokovia Accords talk in Black Widow, although that takes place after Civil War and between Infinity War, so I don't know if that will give us information about it post-Endgame world. I do understand that I think Thunderbolt Ross is supposed to be in it. I think he was in a trailer. With it being so fresh in that movie, it makes sense that it'll be mentioned, and hopefully it gives us maybe some sort of context as to what it means for them now. We're glad you've been joining us through these conferences, and we'll be seeing you pretty soon for some important lore in another realm.
Maybe see this guy in a little bit of an animated form.
Oh yeah. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next time in the conference room for the lore. Like, subscribe, and comment, please. Peace. Bye. Premium. That's all I got to say
Yeah.
about that. That's all we need to say.